Damn. Now let's get to this though. As I talk about a great man such as him, y'all niggas running around here talking about we ain't involved. That's supposed to mean. We made the
Huh?
temp. Well, if you can, you can hear.
You're really low. Turn the
No,
music off.
it's you because they said I'm good.
It's me? I doubt it. They slow.
So
There you go.
you know we a man made a tampon for y'all.
You think because man-made
I'm
tampons
not done.
involved?
Lights, cars, voting,
For us.
credit cards, credit, affirmative action. Right? We created leagues. Can I finish? We created leagues for y'all so y'all can have a viable competition. The WNBA has never made a dime. Has never made a dime. It loses money year over year over year. And yet men make sure everything is copacetic. You said it yourself. You got plenty of men who are willing to kill and die for you. The reason why women get away with the shit they get away with is because there's men standing in front of them to protect them from other men. Right? All of these beautiful inventions, this civilized world, and now men haven't evolved. I feel slighted.
First of all,
Now let me ask you a question about evolve. As you can see, I'm very, very calm, very cool, very collected, and yet you continuously interject and cut me off inappropriately.
because you
And
be
yet,
doing pregnancy
can I
pauses.
finish? Can I finish?
Dialogue.
And yet, and as you can see, I'm talking with my hands. That means I'm very sophisticated. And you see that you cannot contain yourself. I'm the one that's not evolved. Make it make sense.
Sounds sophisticated. And don't spell
Why?
my daddy. Don't think he's about to spell my daddy. You was about to spell my daddy. You said why. You started sophisticated with a why. How unevolved, Hampton. How unevolved.
I was about to say, I was about to spell sophisticated. So, now that I've relinquished the floor, I will allow.
Can I go with my opening statements? Is it a
I will allow you to speak.
Black brother Hampton. Don't spell it for him. This nigga's cheating in the chat. Niggas looked it up for you because they couldn't spell it either. But first of all, this wasn't my premise. And I wasn't there when the premise started. I was tagged there. So I don't know what the original premise was.
Women is hoes. Women is hoes. Women is hoes.
Sorry.
What was that?
No,
I was what was that? I ain't no hoe.
It wasn't that somebody.
Maybe y'all people. Nah,
YouTube, stop touching buttons, YouTube.
Don't blame YouTube. That was you. Now, I was disagreeing with a lot of points that y'all was making. Like, y'all try to make it seem like y'all as evolved because y'all break down like these little things these big things, these major things that y'all have done. But when you just look at it as a grand scheme of things, y'all are not as evolved as y'all say y'all are. And that's my premise.
Why?
Because men are not evolved, men are controlled, right? So because people understand the nature of men, the primitive nature of men, we have to put them in these controlled environments. And the less controlled, the more anarchy, right? The more chaos will be done, the more mayhem will be done, the less you have them in controlled environments. So Right now, we just have to have a lot of control and control your nature. But I would say evolution is if you're actually able to overcome your nature, and most men aren't.
Can you explain what is the percentage of men that are violating women?
Across the world.
We're talking about here, the things that you
No,
can
we
actually
can't. No,
quantify.
no, men don't only exist here.
We're
Y'all
talking
cannot.
about
You
here.
we. That's gonna be moot. The whole conversation is gonna be moot.
Well, no, because what I'm saying is we can't quantify, right? But we're talking about men. We need to use things that we can quantify. So we can look up statistics of men taking advantage of women in that way, and we know it's a nominal number.
We know that sex trafficking is the number 2 traffic thing in the world. Human
Right.
trafficking of
But
women and children
what I'm simply
for
saying
sexual reasons.
what I'm simply saying is, right, we have to be able to quantify, right? So if we use the whole world, it's going to be difficult for us to quantify unless you have. What I'm saying is this: I'm not negating it. I'm saying, see, can you render us numbers that we can actually verify any of this information, or is it just speculation? I'm
No,
just looking in the U.S. We can kind of look at numbers to quantify. And so, if men were so uncivilized, women would be in a world of trouble and hurt. Yet we see women out and about at all times of day and night, traveling by themselves and being protected by men. So how are men not?
well, because we live in a first world country, so we're first world privileged, right? It's especially because our country has a lot of controls and a lot of constraints here, right? We have like a lot of different safety methods. So
And
of
for
course, being in America,
one
our
question,
country is more advanced than other countries.
I
Where countries
understand your
don't have
premise,
that, femicide rates are through the roof.
but you had to go outside, right? And things that but you're subjecting us to that. We're saying here we have these control mechanisms enforced by men. We don't see women being taken advantage of sexually in mass at all. The number's rather nominal. So how have we not evolved and changed our mindsets?
So
Because if
this is
men wanted to, they could take advantage of women in any way they please.
no, because they don't. They're afraid of the consequences, and you're gonna make this a men are more evolved than women. You're still not
I didn't
evolved.
say
So
anything about women not being involved. I didn't say that. You did just for now. I don't know why.
okay, so your primitive nature. Let's get there. Your primitive nature is aggression and competition. At the primitive nature of men, it's aggression and competition. Y'all are still as aggressive. Y'all are still attention. Y'all still are full of competition. Y'all just find other ways to do it. So the system has programmed y'all to be able to take that energy and put it into different things. You haven't transformed that energy. You've just found better ways to do it, right? So just in this control environment, men are controlling the world with violence, right? The reason why we don't go to war no more is because we have nuclear weapons, right? So after what we did to Japan and the long-lasting effects afterwards, most people don't necessarily want to go to war because they know it's going to be a bunch of nukes flying around. But the countries who have nuclear weapons are literally dominating everything with fear. That's men.
What are you talking about? We at war right now, right? We
Yeah.
occupy countries, and
Yeah.
there's a bunch of fighting happening.
That's what I'm
Ukraine.
saying. So how are you evolved when that is your primitive nature and men are still doing this? The only thing is the men who are more dominant, because that's a part of it, right? The needs to be more dominant than the next man, or the need to be more dominant over the next person. That's also male nature that you haven't evolved from. It's only the ones who are more dominant have found awesome ways to be even more dominant, to the fact that, look, we're never going to let up off these people.
No, but what you just highlighted was the civility, right? So once men realized that the nuclear bombs were that detrimental to society, one, those people were compensated. Two, they're protected by the government that did unleash the bomb, right?
Yeah, they
And
can't.
three, nobody's using them at
Sorry.
all, i.e., Ukraine and Russia. They're not using nuclear bombs on
No,
each
I'm
other.
saying, like, once we know the effects, people don't want to
But,
do that. But this is
but
the reason why these
Cherrell,
countries
Cherrell,
don't go to
Cherrell, you
war.
cut in for no reason,
Okay.
right? What you highlighted was that they were civil. Once they understood what happened, people are very apprehensive to using those type of weapons. So you're actually pointing out the civility of men once men learned that, okay, that's detrimental. Now, one thing you glossed over is men being civilized because there's a control mechanisms, but you did not give men the credit for putting control mechanisms in place and then enforcing them. So then why are you putting that jacket on the men who are enforcing and putting in place control mechanisms?
Okay, because when you go to a prison, there's more prisons in there than the COs, right?
Yes.
So the COs are there to control the problems, the issues, which means there's
Correct.
more issues, because it doesn't mean nobody can evolve. It just means that the evolved people understand how hard it is to evolve. So it means we have to keep the rest of these people in a controlled environment, which is
Except
why.
for except for when you use the prison population, it actually proves the point that men have evolved because the prison population is a nominal number in comparison to men in the world or men in the country. Sorry. So it's
No,
600,000 men in prison, but it's what is it? 160 men in the country.
yeah, that's my thing. You're going to that way. I'm telling you, it doesn't mean that you're all just evolved just because there's a few people that's evolved controlling you. If these people are controlling you and they're evolved, that's how it is. It's still a bunch of unevolved people just moving around. Doesn't mean that they're automatically going to go to criminal, because like I said, people don't want to go to jail. They would do, a lot of people would do things if they wasn't controlled by the fear or the consequences of what they got to put up with.
Except for that's purely speculative, right? The majority of people are just living day by day, right? So you do have a decently large police force, but the police force is always way less than the populace in which they police, right? Which proves that the populace in mass is just doing what they need to do on an everyday basis. The criminal element is very, very small. Remember, it was how many black men committing the crimes, right? And when you look at the FBI's crime statistics, 9,000 black men committing the murders, but
So,
there's 22 million of us. So that actually proves the opposite, that men have grown past the foolishness.
Hamp, black men are probably the most controlled men of all.
Huh?
You're like, black men are in the most controlled environment. Like, they put you in an environment so controlled that the only people that you really have any type of power over of destroying is yourself. Or other people that look like you. You're in a controlled environment as well. So it's like, when you look at men, you want to look at, and that's, and a lot of us get to that point, right? Right? We know great men, or we know, we know wonderful men, or we know men making strides, and then we program our minds into thinking, well, this is all men. No, it's not. When you look at the major problems in the world, when you look at tyranny, when you look at genocide, is still going on. When you look at slavery, is still going on. When you're talking about sex trafficking being the number 2 thing traffic in the whole world, where people are kidnapping kids, and making a global thing, this is a global thing, and you understand that men are in charge of all these horrible things, the system of racism, the system of classism, everything that is horrible with the world, literally men. Literally men. And all they're doing is making it to where every man doesn't have the power. But that's true.
But I noticed you when I'm addressing your points very directly, now you start to speak in
no, you're trying to make men, black men that you know, good black men that you know. You're not trying to you're trying to squeeze me into your frame so that you can win your point. But you're not going to be able to debunk the fact that the worst things that are happening in the world are very prominent, that there are wars, that there are crimes against nature, that there are a bunch of things that is so horrible here, and we understand that is being controlled by men.
Okay. And now the best things that are happening in the world, all the inventions, all the control mechanisms, all the wars that people are fighting, they're also fighting against a populace that's trying to stop it, right? Every right that you have is enforced by men, right? So you're trying to put the negative jacket without acknowledging all the positives. And we understand that the criminal elements, right, the visceral elements are smaller elements by far when you look at data and statistics that we can actually quantify.
So what I'm telling you is, once you go to places where they don't have such a military, such a police force, such harsh on crimes, the men, they're out of control. It's more chaotic. It's more anarchy. So what you're saying is, yeah, we be doing better here, yeah, because you'll go to jail. You don't want to go to jail. Most people don't want to go to jail. The majority of people don't want to go to jail. That's why the majority of people don't go to jail. It don't mean that the majority of people don't do crime. It don't mean the majority of people don't want to get away with crime. Because if they could, they would.
But you can't quantify that, though. You're just saying they could, they would, but they're not because of the control mechanisms that men put in place and enforce.
That's what I'm saying. So why would men put these? If men felt like we're just evolved and we could all be out here on some peace, love, and harmony type we could just govern ourselves. Why would they have all these governance systems that are so harsh?
Everything that's put in place, right, allows for the equality conversation to even happen. See, you're not looking at the benevolence of men, right?
But you're only doing equality here. Women don't have rights outside of America.
Hold on. The interjection, right, is once again one of them. You running from the point. It's okay. You're gonna get your steps in today. But when we look at the control mechanism, right, they're put in place because it actually speaks to benevolence. It even allows for women to have this conversation on equal footing because of how society has been structured, right? But that seemingly gets dismissed when the woman in the discourse said that men haven't evolved.
Okay, so my issue that I brought up with the whole women rights movement is the thing that, yeah, this is the new thing that we do on TikTok. I've been on TikTok a lot. I'm trying to leave Instagram alone. But the thing is that the thing that we were just like, oh, well, women's rights, and women get to talk. We treat women like humans now. We gave women humans rights.
Now, right? Now, right?
We gave women humans rights. At least in America, we did.
Now, right?
They don't have human rights nowhere else, but
yes,
they have human rights here. And what the reason why?
Yes, they do.
The reason why women have human rights in America is because bigger than human rights, America is run on capitalism.
Okay.
So now, yeah, I'm going to create some type of footing and some type of rights and some type of equality for my top consumer. Because who is the top consumers in America? Women. Who gonna spend that money? Women. Who's gonna put that money in the market? Women. And we're gonna let them work for their own money so their husbands can't tell them no to control their money. Whole another shakedown by men. Running these well-armed systems that's actually being so derogatory and tearing down the world.
Yeah. And so when you look at divorce, because you're talking about you think you fooling us. You think you fooling us by talking about a few countries in the Middle East, right? When we
China,
know
Africa, they have child war, like child armies in Africa. Genocides, Africa.
Okay. How many countries are in Africa?
Buku. No, 60, Buku mean?
It's a lot. 63, right? Mm-hmm. Where are these wars taking place?
All over.
You've been to Ghana. You've been to Nigeria.
I'm not going
nowhere. Been to South Africa. You've been to Sierra Leone.
I ain't going nowhere. I'm staying in America. I'm American.
Well, what I'm saying is, right, that this is actually not the case, right? You're looking at a few different countries, right? You see, like you're talking about China, you know, maybe I could give you that one, but we frankly don't know enough about it. But when I start talking about the countries that we do know enough about, the arguments start to fall flat.
We only know about America, and Americans, y'all think that y'all are the only people that exist. Like,
no, we got Europe in itself, right? The reason why I was about to bring up Europe when I was just talking about the divorce rates and all that is because they deal. It's very similar, if not the same, to how our countries run. Now, a couple of those countries are socialist, like Canada's socialist, but generally speaking, the women have the same rights as the women here. And I'm just simply telling you that men realize, okay, we have to civilize these things in a way so which women can succeed. We have to enforce women's rights for them. That actually speaks to men evolving because it's different from what it used to be.
So when white people freed the slaves, do you think it was because they evolved out of racism?
No, but everybody's racist.
Okay. But it did make sense financially for the company, the country economically, right?
There was a disparity between the workforce for free in the North and the South.
So when it came to money, they made changes, but it does not mean that they're not. I'm not racist anymore. No, it just means you want money, and these down here is outlapping you because they're using
Sure.
free labor that you
Yeah.
can't.
So everybody's racist. I agree with that sentiment that I gave, right? But if someone is not treating you the same, right, and you're afforded the things that you weren't afforded previously, you know, and so the perception would be what to someone who was looking outside in?
That people aren't racist anymore.
If people are exactly right, so you would have to go off of what the perception is, not what we feel.
Right. So now I just think that the system is more covert because, right. So like you can say we gave women all these rights and we made y'all equal and let y'all work and we let y'all talk and we gave y'all, we treat y'all like humans now, right? Do you think that men are better than women?
Better in what way?
Just in creation.
Yeah, if I need to get something done, I would bring another man with me.
Exactly. So you don't think that women are equal just because there are some policies that now
What do you
somehow we
mean?
can. You don't think it. That's what I'm saying. I just proved that point to you. The same point of a man can be racist and still free slaves if it benefits him in some way.
Wait a minute. So
But
you're
it's not
saying,
actually you're not actually being evolved and transformed. You're
hold
just
on.
being controlled.
No, but how is that approved? If I have to get things done, right? If there's a all right, if there's a task up ahead, Cherrell, and you don't know what the task is, it could be physical, mental, right? Are
Hemp,
you
I
gonna
said
bring
in
up?
creation. In creation.
But what? Yeah, I'm answering the question, right?
Like I didn't say to help you. I said in creation.
You said better.
Who's better in creation? Are we equal in creation? Did God
No,
create us equally or did God create one
but
of y'all
but
to be
but
better?
but equally, right? Doesn't mean better or worse. If you ask me equally, no, we're not created equally. But then when you ask me better, I simply ask you the same. I asked you in a hypothetical, so you also admit that you think men are better. If there's a task up ahead and you have no clue what that task is, are you bringing a man or a woman with you?
Probably my best friend as well as girl, but sure, a man, if I could find one.
Because you understand the capabilities. So when you say better, don't try to pigeonhole
Because I'm
me into
lazy.
saying better. You also agree that men are better.
Okay, this is the thing.
But that's not a man thing.
But
That's a
this is
people
but this
thing.
okay, but this is the thing. So don't say we have evolved because we gave y'all equality and you do not believe that we're equal.
What? That
You're
is
you're
a
debunking your
terrible
own point.
argument.
Yes. You're debunking your own point.
No, not at all. Not even close.
You
Not even
are.
close. Right? It's
Are.
quite literally saying men's mind frame changes, right? The benevolency in men increased, which is why you see things being put in place like handicaps to allow women to start to rise up, right? And get on an even playing field, right? Will it be 1-to-1? No. But there's
But
several
him,
things.
you're
There's
saying benevolent, but who said that your primitive nature is for you to be evil?
I'm saying you can see the benevolency in things that have been created.
But I'm saying, when was benevolence not a part of your primitive nature?
I'm saying you can see the benevolency in all the things that have been created, right?
Right.
So
But what
when
you're saying, you evolved, right? You're saying you
Mhm,
evolved, which
mhm.
means you didn't start there,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
So you're saying men start off evil, that y'all are inherently
That's
evil,
not what,
and then
but
y'all
you're
evolve to being
you're
benevolent?
acting, but Sherelle, you're saying it like evil is the antonym to benevolency.
It's malevolent, which is evil, right?
You're so you're saying that the opposite of benevolence is evil.
Is malevolent, right?
Hmm.
Is that not the opposite?
No.
Okay.
So when we go back to what we're discussing, right? We looking at all these things that have been put in place and enforced by men that have changed the trajectory of women's lives because men start to see the value, which means that there's an evolution there. But you're not acknowledging the positives. You're only highlighting the negatives. And you only keep saying men are warlike and competitive. What about everything else?
Everything else matters too. I'm not saying that men can't evolve over time. Like, I'm not saying that it's impossible for you to evolve and that no man has ever evolved. What I'm saying is this idea that men have been controlled, so they're not being able to act out on their true ambitions. When you listen to them, when you have conversations with them, when you start to get around them, you would say, okay, like if it wasn't for consequences, we're grateful for this control. We're grateful for prisons. We're grateful for these systems, because if it was up to them to just, we could just govern ourselves, you can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So like when we talk about like sexual, like once people started telling you that you could go to jail for grape, it should be no grape ever. Once people tell you could lose your freedom for doing these things, that should never happen. But it's still happening. So when you listen to people, like even like with the Shannon Sharp thing, like, are we still like being overcame by our lower nature? But we're evolved? I just watch your show. I just watch your show because I'll be watching your drops. I don't just catch your lives. I watch your drops. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Support the show. Mm-hmm. But you were just talking about, and James was just having this argument in Discord. Shout out to James. About this biological imperative, which is showing you not being able to overcome your lower nature. How is that evolved?
Well, when you look at it, right? Men throughout time immemorial, the majority of men haven't procreated.
Because of women.
What you mean?
Because women are natural selectors on who procreates.
But why? What? But you see how it's convenient that you can discredit those men, right? You could also say, why haven't they? It's because they control their lower nature, and women haven't been getting raped in mass. Okay, because so men have. Hold on, let the point get there first, right? Because women ain't being taken advantage of, right? And men do have control of their loins, and they not out here raping women. You know,
but they manipulate them. And lie to
that's
them.
not. But you said, but that's not. But you see when you respond like that, you're not acknowledging what I'm literally saying. They not out here taking advantage of women, and they haven't procreated. You know why? Because men have matured, evolved, and they're benevolent.
No, you think a bunch of men in China want to die off?
No.
Yet their women are saying they're not going to have kids with them, and they're about to wipe them out.
Not China. Korea.
All the niggas Chinese.
Yeah, I think the Koreans are Chinese.
First of all, let's get this together. If all the people who speak Spanish are what?
Mexican.
All the people who speak any type of Asian language are
Chinese.
Yeah.
Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, hit that like button right now.
Chinese.
That helps the channel the most.
The whole continent of Asia, China.
What up, buzzin', bird flippin' dozen. Holla at your boy, you thought your cousin was.
Salute to Jay Ali in the building, man. Gifted 1 membership. Whoever got blessed with it, please maintain it. Dre in the grind with the fellas is for the gorilla mention. Dre been a member for 12 months. Dre was been a member for 12 months. And shout out to the best channel on this YouTube medium. If medium means all, then I take it. Aaron was in 2000. AI did a simulation of the fight. Look it up. I'm gonna look it up. I gotta look it up.
We gotta watch it together.
Yeah, Dre on the grind with the 2000s. Get the top 10 world's strongest men competitors. They can't fight though. One of them can fight though. I forget his name. He fights pretty good. Tequila been a member for 13. Tequila salute. Smooth with the $5. Do you think we could have Keith come on and give us his unfiltered take on the current real estate market and his projections / recommendations, etc.? He usually gets paid for appearances, but we done a lot of work together. I DJ'd a whole bunch of times for him, including his 40th birthday and all that shit. So I could definitely hit him up to see what's popping, man, for sure. Sophisticated Jerk in the building. Thank you for helping me
we could
spell
pay
it.
him.
Shout out to Hamp saying sophisticated. Like Mike was just announcing, I got a feeling, and I say feel like this is gonna be a good one. Hey, that'd be so funny, yo. When I hear people, like somebody will send me a clip and they'll be like, somebody will say, like, they'll say this right here. Oh, Nikasu with the 2000s. Women are trying to be men, but we are not evolved. Laugh out loud. Aaron with the $5. Peace, love, and harmony is what women want. Men know it can pop off at any time. Men want a controlled environment and a break from war.
Aaron, that was to my point. Thank you, cousin.
Aaron with the $2 is Tuesday show, the battle of pronunciations. Rock Solid with the $5 says, if we get rid of the laws, death will be law. So motherfuckers will still be in line. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend and tell a friend. Hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. I dropped a link. I dropped the link. Salute to Cherrell. I think we had a hell of a back and forth.
Dang, we didn't even go that far.
It's an hour. But yeah,
we talked about the gorilla for 45 minutes.
20 minutes or so. But no, I mean, I have several more points. I just don't want to, like, you know what I mean, talk through every single one of them. And then we don't get to have
I feel
fun.
like we should have, because we can have civil conversations, and there's probably going to be some people I don't like that hit the link. And then it's going to be like, uncivil discourse.
There's no way y'all believe this.
Thank you. I won.
There's no way y'all think that. Hold on.
Y'all are just controlled.
There's no way y'all think that. Now they serious?
Y'all are just controlled.
There's
like
no
even
way.
like I sent you that clip about the pastor who was like habitually cheating on his wife. And I think about mega pastors, right? I think about him. I think about TD Jakes. I think about all of these mega pastors. I'm like, look at men exploiting God for money. Look at the type of shit they do. But they evolved. The people that are supposed to be bringing you to God are exploiting you and taking advantage of you.
What?
Yeah, like when you look at that, like, right? Like, look at how these men, these pastors, they literally exploit the word of God for gain.
Yeah, but you talking
how
about
they evolved.
They
Was doing that same when Jesus came the first time.
4 or 5 of them niggas.
Bro, it's all over the world. They're doing this. They got a pope. This nigga leading masses astray. You know how people believe in the pope? I don't even know what the pope do. I don't even know where the pope come from. Who is the nigga? But that's just what they do. Cold.
Now we already know, right? Women, you guys' superpower is
women are not evolved either. Women can't evolve past men.
Well, no, we're not talking about the women today.
Yeah, you said we wasn't.
But what I'm saying is,
that's our favorite topic.
Well, we can talk about the women. I just don't want to start talking about if they evolved or not, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you have just too many examples that outweigh any of that shit that you named in terms of men progressing overwhelmingly.
Yeah, I think that there are a minority of men who are actually evolving in thought and process. I think evolution is how you gain Christ consciousness and you can actually evolve. But you don't evolve by suppressing your nature. You evolve by overcoming your nature. And I feel like when you put people in a controlled environment to where they have such harsh consequences, now they're not doing it because of the consequences instead of actually buckling down to overcome their nature. Yeah,
I think that's where, so by definition of evolution, you think that the change has to be absolute, like it can't be controlled, it has to be like totally conquered.
Yeah, because if you love me and you do something out of fear, like, right, that's what Christ was saying, like, love, like, if you love, you're gonna follow the laws. Don't follow the laws because you're scared. Follow it because you love. That's how you transform it. You transform it into love. You transform it into peace. You do these things because it's you. That's why you say your heart. It's not about what goes in your body. It comes out your heart. That wickedness is inside you. But you're running around pretending and masking that you're not wicked. How are you going to overcome that wickedness if you can't even acknowledge that you have the wickedness because you're hiding from the consequences of being wicked?
Yeah, and I think the key is, right, when we say men have not evolved, that's the hyperbole, right? That makes the conversation interesting, you know. So in terms of evolution, right, like there's almost a total change, right? So I can agree with the exact definition, right? But what we're simply discussing is, you know, the things that men have done to make things more civilized and more equal and palatable for everybody around them. Women, children, the structure, the enforcement. That's one thing that seems like it kind of gets glossed over. Like men are some like we walk on all fours and shit.
No, first of all, y'all never walked on all fours. Come on now. That's the white man. But listen, it's like, come on now. Hold on. You know who you are. You know who you are. But that's what I'm saying. We understand that men are fighting. We understand that there are evolved men who are fighting for more civil, more human rights. But it's been a fight. It's been a fight. Just like the system of racism, that's controlled by men. It's a world. It's like, bro, the destruction of us is controlled by men. Us making us want to hate ourselves is controlled by men. These mass genocides, these mass things, is still controlled by men. So yeah, there are a minority of men who are fighting against that. But because the world is, we can look at the world and we can still see that we're in such turmoil. We can tell that they're losing. You know why? Because it's more that's out the way, and more negative people will know that they can just pull somebody out the church. Listen, boom. You're going to be in a secret society where you don't have to follow the rules and you can do all of these evil things too, and you can benefit from it too. And people will leap, jump, frog all the way over there for the benefits of that. Hey, Mr. Williams.
What's up, Mr. Williams?
What's up?
I see what y'all got to say, man. You know what I'm saying?